Welcome to the 6th of my Nova Open Grand Tournament battle reports. This is the final game. For this round, I was originally paired up against Nick. Obviously, I played Nick already. So I got switched with the next table down. So I was either playing Collins or Gene, who was running Orcs and Goblins. When we come to playing Collins, I'd love to play him again. I've only ever played him once, but that one time he beat me, so I was a little apprehensive about it as well. But as it happened, I ended up paired up against Gene instead. So Gene was running Orcs and Goblins, and I'll go through his list in a moment. So going through his list from left to right, he had a small unit of Wolf Riders here, and then a hero on a Wolf who can Vanguard independently of the Wolf unit. That big boss has a Sword of Striking, Dragon Helm, Potion of Full Hardiness, Light Armor, and a Shield. Then we have a unit of Orc Biggins, Savage Orc Biggins. Quite a small unit, only 21 of them. You know, one of the obligatory Mangler Squigs, a Doom Diver, a Pump Wagon with Exploding Spores and Spiky Roller. I believe the Exploding Spores are the thing that ignores armor saves on the first impact, so I'm definitely going to try and keep that away from my Mournfang. Then over here, this is a large unit of Night Goblins. No Fanatics for some reason, and this being uncomped, I'm rather surprised by that. They do have nets, which I always have to remember. I always forget the nets, and they always cause me problems. In there, we have a Night Goblin Shaman who's a level 2 with nothing, just naked. Okay, then we have another Mangler. Then we have a large unit of Black Orcs. So that is 28 Black Orcs in Horde formation. He also has an Orc War Boss with sort of anti-heroes. I'm going to have to watch out for that. Other Tricks of Shah, Dragon Jame, Armor Destiny. A Great Shaman with a Dispel Scroll and a Ward Save. And an Orc Big Boss BSB with a 4+ Ward and an Enchanted Shield. Then he has a single Troll, a unit of Squigs, a Squig Herd, a Stone Thrower. Behind the Black Orcs, there's a second Doom Diver. And over here is the last unit of Wolves. So on my side, I put my Death Star over on the left. I tried to refuse flank some of his units. And I put my Scouting Man-Eaters a little forward, but within general BSB range. I put them opposite the Savage Orcs. I figured I could do a lot of damage to the Savage Orcs before the Savage Orcs swing. If I can whittle them down a little bit beforehand, I should even be able to win that. And then over on my right flank, I have one unit of Bulls way over on the right. I'm hoping they can just sort of sneak their way into the opponent deployment zone by virtue of not being very threatening. And I put my Mournfang in the middle. And I have an Iron Blaster on each side, one of them behind a hill, one of them sort of behind my other units. So turn one, he moved his Vanguards up and he moved them a bit further in his first turn. His Manglers and things moved forward, but his main line stayed the same. He kept his infantry relatively far back. He was obviously very content to try and outshoot me for the first few turns and let me deal with, the Mangler threat and so on before he engages. He was in no hurry there. And as you can see in his first shooting phase, he targeted my Mournfang with his Doom Divers. They make a mess of Mournfang, especially before I get any of my magic buffs up. D6 Strength 5 no armor save will really carve through them in no time. Over here, his Shaman has miscast. He's cast Foot of Gork on my units, and he's stomping away on my units. But he's blown a chunk out of his Black Orcs in return. So over here is the left flank. So he's moved his Fast Cav up, and then he's got the Mangler behind him. And I was looking at that, and if I can get him to flee through the Mangler, that will take out both the fleeing Fast Cav and the Mangler. So I was really looking at that, trying to decide how I can declare a charge. The problem is, of course, if I declare a charge and he holds, then that's going to push me right forward. I'm going to get just smashed with both Manglers, plus everything else, So it was a sort of interesting positioning there. Okay, so what I did was I did declare a charge on both. They both fled in directions that did not bring them through the Mangler Squig. So essentially, both of them just fled. They are fast cavalry, so they're going to be able to rally, and then they can come right back to annoy me again. So fast cav is very frustrating in that fashion. The nice thing here is that his Wolf Riders are not within general or BSB range, which means they're testing on a low leadership. They have a musician, but they got no reroll. I also ran one of my Saber Tusks into his Mangler Squig, so that killed both the Saber Tusk and the Mangler. So over here, I'm casting Troll Guts. I believe I miscast it, did an explosion on my unit, but I managed to make all my regen saves. Regen comes through before the miscast, so the nice thing about 6 dice in Troll Guts for Ogre players is I can throw 6 dice. If I get a miscast, then I can get my regen saves against those hits. Over here, so his Wolf Riders thankfully didn't rally. The hero did rally, so his hero was coming back, but his Wolf Riders were running for the hills. Over here, I'm firing with my Iron Blasters. I'm trying to take out his War Machines, and those Mangler Squigs are a priority. So I've moved my Mournfang up a little bit, and they have regen from that thing, so I'm a little bit less concerned about them getting hit by the War Machines this turn. So in his turn, you can see that Wolf Rider hero has rallied and has moved up behind the building, and this is the Watchtower on this side. He's also brought his Savage Orcs up, which I think is reasonable. He's putting them up against the Man-Eaters. They're going to do a lot of damage to each other. I think he has the edge there. But his other units are still staying fairly static. He's also shoved his Squigs as far forward as possible, along with that single troll. In my turn, I had a cunning plan. I did not like my Mournfang sitting out in the open. I couldn't guarantee that they would survive another round of shooting very well, and they certainly couldn't really take on that Savage Orc block. I could charge them in, maybe do a lot of damage, but they weren't going to survive that. But if I could get them round the back, then that would be really nice. If I can bring them round to the rear of those those Black Orcs, I can bring my Death Star forward and try and sandwich them. How do I do that? Well, I thought I will charge that troll. The troll can't flee. Then if I charge my Saber Tusk into the front of those Squigs, my Saber Tusk is obviously going to get killed by the Squigs, but when I kill the troll and overrun, as long as the Squigs were already engaged at the start of the round of combat, I can fight again. And then the Squigs will lose, probably explode, and then I can overrun my Mournfang again and get them out of the charge arc of those Black Orcs. Now, if you're up on your overrun mechanics, you realize there's an error there, but at that time I didn't see the problem. It seemed like a brilliant plan. Okay, so I've charged my cat in the front here, and over on this left side I moved my Death Star up a bit. I'm a little concerned I'm not going to get to grips with those big units and get rid of them if I don't start moving forward. So here I've charged my Mournfang in and my cat in as planned. My small unit of 3 bulls has started to make a break for his deployment zone. I've also moved one of my cats up. I should be able to charge his Stone Thrower next turn. I believe I may even have declared a charge this turn and failed it. The Iron Blasters have been shooting. I've taken out at least one of his Doom Divers, and I've taken out one of his Squigs at this point. So here's my Iron Blaster firing again. At this point, I think I'm trying to take out his Stone Thrower. His Stone Thrower has been lobbing rocks at my Iron Blasters, and he's got a couple of hits. He hasn't killed either of them yet, but he's doing wounds to them. Over here, my Mournfang have killed that single troll, and they overran into the Squigs. At this point, I suddenly realized my horrendous mistake, which was, of course, you can't overrun twice. You can overrun once, and then you can fight a second round of combat, but after that, they're tired. They're not running anymore. You can reform, but you can't overrun, which means there is no way I can position those Mournfang that they won't get charged by the Black Orcs. So this was just stupid on my part. This was something I should have realized. My excuse is it's game 6 and I'm making silly mistakes. So anyway, this far the plan seemed to work. The Mournfang did a lot of damage to the Squigs, and then the Squigs were brought below Steadfast and then exploded. So they exploded, killed the cat, or they killed it in combat. They took out another whole Mournfang with the explosion. Then in his turn he declared a charge for the Black Orcs. I fled. I'd fled just far enough to get into the charge arc of these goblins, and so he declared a secondary charge, and that meant I needed to flee again. I really like this sort of maneuver. You can harass a unit by keep declaring charges and get them to flee off the board. In this case, it didn't quite work, but what it did do is it sent me right through my unit of 3 bulls. And that unit of 3 bulls then had to take a panic check. If they failed that, they would almost certainly run off the board. I was kind of concerned about that, because if they fled off the board, then that unit's gone. I can't take his deployment zone very easily. I'm not likely to get anything else across the board while keeping the watchtower on the left side of the board. So I was very relieved that my unit of 3 bulls decided to hold. So even if the Mournfang go off the table, that's okay. That's just points lost. My bulls can keep going forward and hopefully get that 2 points completely unopposed, because it doesn't cost him anything if I get those two bonus points. He doesn't have any stake in really trying to stop that unit from getting across there. So over here I have got caught by the Savage Orcs. I think I have been shooting at them, but they don't seem to have taken any wounds. I think I had a really lousy round of shooting the last time. He charges again. I stand and shoot. Still don't do very much to them. So he's got his Savage Orcs into my Mournfang.
On the plus side, man-eaters are initiative 3. It's not often that makes a big difference, but in this case
it does. So I'm going to get to swing first. I actually have a strength buff on these guys, so they're strength 6. So I'm going to be hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s, and I'll have poison. So I should be able to make a good dent here. So there you go. That's the wider view. He started to move his stuff forward at this point. I think he's realized he needs to start heading for the watchtower now if he wants those points. Okay, here's my unit. I've taken some beating here, mostly from Gork stomping on my unit. I was definitely feeling the pain of not having the rune more this game. Here, his stone throwers attacking my Iron Blaster. He managed to get a hit, managed to get a wound, only roll a 1 for the number of wounds. So I've survived that, but the stone thrower is really hitting me every turn. So I've kind of missed out a turn here. I didn't take any photos. So what happened was the Savage Orcs beat the man-eaters, but at great cost, and then I was able to clear up on that unit with the Death Star. I then turned around. He's brought his unit of Gobbos up to the watchtower. I've charged my bulls into that unit. I managed to get a strength buff. I'm hoping to do some damage, start grinding that unit down, but also to keep it away from my main unit. And what I was expecting is my bulls will take some wounds. I can take the one on the far right off, and that's really going to prevent anyone else charging that unless they can get around the flank. So I'm hoping that unit can just sort of stick around in combat with those Night Goblins and just hold them off for long enough for my main unit to get to grips with his big unit. Because his big unit's over here. Now what happened was my bulls did amazing. They had a strength bonus. The goblins managed to net themselves. Bulls absolutely laid into them and killed a whole pile of gobbos in one combat. Obviously they're steadfast general BSB, so they stuck around. So in actual fact I did way too good because the goblins failed miserably to attack me. Obviously they net themselves, which meant I couldn't remove that third one off the corner, which left that little tiny bit of base showing, and the Black Orcs are in their front arc. That gives him something he can charge. So at this point, his Black Orcs can charge in. He can wallop the bulls, break them, and then overrun into my unit. Whereas if I didn't have that one model on the end there, he'd have a very long charge, and I'd be most likely to be able to charge into his Black Orcs. What's even worse is if he actually breaks my bulls on the charge, his Night Goblins are going to be free to hit my unit. So that's what he does. And unsurprisingly, since he's able to add Black Orcs and Heroes into my bulls, where bulls fail their leadership and flee, and then he's able to overrun into my Death Star with both of his units. And the Night Goblins are particularly frustrating because they're not really enough in combat that I could get extra attacks or stomps on them, but they're going to be able to throw their nets and reduce my strength. On the plus side, I was able to throw an Iron Blaster into that unit to try and even the odds a little bit. So impact hits did a few casualties. My general and his general ended up in a combat. Mighty battle. I didn't move my characters up. I would have liked to, but that's just going to make his general with sort of anti-heroes crank up his damage. I've got a Troll Guts on my unit though, so that's really saving an awful lot of the damage that's coming back against me. So with the final combat tally, I did 2 wounds to his general. I wasn't quite able to kill his general. He did 1 wound to me. I did a few wounds to various characters, and I killed 4 out of 1 unit, a bunch of gobbos. What I did do was charge my Saber Tusk into the back of those Night Goblins. The Night Goblins were not able to kill the Saber Tusk, and that added, the charge in the rear to my bonuses for this round. So that definitely helped a little bit as well. So in the end, his Savage Orcs, his Black Orcs were not stubborn. He didn't have the Stubborn Crown, which was surprising. Failed their break check and fled. I can't remember if the Night Goblins failed to pass. I think they passed because they were steadfast. That didn't matter. Whether or not I could catch the Black Orcs, it was the very bottom of turn 6. There was no way they were going to rally. They all counted as destroyed. So that was the very last roll of turn 6, and he lost his main unit. So I won. I got a good victory. I think it was 20 points to 6. I got some bonus points in there. I was able to get that small unit of Ogres into his deployment zone and so on. So that was a good score for me. and it was a really fun game. I enjoyed playing against Gene a lot. So that was it for the game, and that's it for the tournament. Time to then see exactly where we placed. I obviously hadn't done the best in battle, nor had I done the best in paint, but together I had a fairly respectable score coming back after that sort of catastrophic day one. So the winner of the tournament was none other than Daniel San, who brought his High Elves again. I've got a picture of his BSB, said he spent an awful lot of time working on that banner. That's a really impressive looking banner, I have to say, and he, I think, got the highest paint score, and deservedly so. I'm very impressed by that. My result was fourth. I've put an ish there because there was a little bit of a kerfuffle with exactly how the scores were calculated. It didn't make an awful lot to difference to me how they were put together. I think I varied between fourth and sixth, with some people their score changed wildly depending on exactly how the points were added up. Overall, I wanted to give some final thoughts on Nova, and the whole scoring debacle, coupled with another couple of things, soured the experience for some people. Jerry Parsley and Ira were holding together the spreadsheet, working very hard to keep that running. And for a lot of people, it was a very expensive one to attend because you're paying sort of convention fees, and it's in a hotel and not in a gaming store and so on. But overall, I had a great fun time. I enjoyed hanging out with everyone, and I think that really made it a good experience. Now that the clubs from different areas are getting to know each other, Cobra Kai, the Fancy Lads, the Foul. I mean, we knew each other. Been getting to know each other over the last few grand tournaments, but it's starting to really feel like a sort of larger sense of community. Maybe it's just me that this tournament was the first time I really felt that, but it's definitely a lot of fun to go and hang out. Scooter's a lot of fun to hang out with, even though his organization lacks a little something. So overall, I had a very positive experience. I'm looking ahead now to the next grand tournament, which is Grail Quest. Which is not till the end of October, and it's going to be down in North Carolina. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to be bringing. It's going to be Swedish comp, so that really opens up an awful lot of more possibilities in terms of being competitive, but still, modelling opportunities and so on. Okay, well, that's it for the battle report, and that's it for Nova Open, so I hope you enjoyed watching.